And our Zoom family, I want to forget you, welcome as well. And want to ask you, is anyone the first time that you're here tonight? Welcome, very good. And others, some of you I recognize, welcome back. Okay, promise we're not going to pick on you too much today with questions. Kidding. So we are in the month of October, although it's coming to a close. I can't believe it's just faster and faster. So the month focuses on nonviolence, the silent power for lasting peace. So why, does anyone have an idea of why we would pick October to be the month of nonviolence? Why did I pick that? Okay. Well, simply the UN, the United Nations, has deemed October 2nd as the International Day of Nonviolence, and that is because that's Mahatma Gandhi's birthday. So they recognize, and for the whole month, the month focuses on nonviolence. So we in Harmony House, always our effort is towards peace and nonviolence of all forms, be it not just physical nonviolence, but our thoughts, our words, because even our thoughts can lead to violence because a thought becomes action. So we're closing out our month today with making peaceful relationships, because really that is what's important. We are social beings, if you will, while we're on this planet. And how do we react and how do we respond to each other? Is it with peace? So one thing about Mahatma Gandhi, I got a quote from Gandhi, which I thought was, and this is something that I have believed. And in my past iteration, my past career, I'm still in government, but I was a kind of a lawmaker and working in government in legislation, you see the different ideas that people have. And Mahatma Gandhi said it best: nonviolence is the greatest force at the disposal of mankind. It is mightier than the mightiest weapon of destruction devised by the ingenuity of man. And I'm going to preface by putting ingenuity in quotes, because inevitably I've always felt that when a human gets hold of it, it could go sideways. Because what we make for science oftentimes, as we know, it's always right? Science can be a mixed blessing. But I have had the opportunity to, when I travel in government, to ask leaders, what do you think of peace and nonviolence? And people that I respect will always say that peace is hard, but is the bravest thing that you can be, is to be peaceful. Not the other way around. Sometimes we get it wrong. We think being strong and tough, that's being, that's power. It's not. It is being peaceful and nonviolence that is the greatest power of all. And I always felt humans were afraid of their power. And that's why we're here today. We're going to make a deep dive into understanding how we can have more peaceful relationships with ourselves. Are we at peace with ourselves? Are we at peace with our families, in our workplace? Even on the subway, I was on the subway today, coming from the city. Are we at peace with the people around us? And that's something, we have just an excellent speaker tonight. He's more than a speaker. He really is a soulful, he's the director of the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual Organization, and that's Brother Erik Larson. He's also the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University representative to the United Nations, and a member for the NGO Committees on the Freedom of Religion of Belief and religious NGOs. He's also on the board of directors of the Long Island Multi-Faith Forum, and he's a very experienced Raja Yoga meditation instructor, if you've had the privilege of studying with him, and he's also a retreat facilitator. And before his retirement, he served as a civil engineer. So he has a world view. He was in the workforce for many, many years and was retired from career in property loss management with GE, Global Asset Protection Services, risk insurance, and other consultants. So with that, I am going to ask Brother Erik, and if you had the privilege of listening in, you'll know that this is going to be a very special evening. Welcome, Brother Erik. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Shanti, good evening. I was upstairs and I did not see hands go up. Those who might be here for the first time. Okay, I guess just welcome. And those who have been here before, welcome back. As you heard, we are doing our insights, and I'm very, very happy to have you here in person. We're encouraging everybody to join us in person, but some still are distant. Those from Texas and North Carolina and Florida, we give you a pass. It's okay that you come in on Zoom. However, those who are able to come out, I'm hoping that being in the presence and the company of others who are kind of on the same wavelength is nice, beneficial, supportive in that sense. So it's great to have you here. It's great to have you there. It's great to be alive. The theme for the month was nonviolence. And it started in September and kind of bookends in the end of October, beginning of November on nonviolence, Gandhi King, lots of things that you can check out and see why it's happening. But tonight was going to be more on peace in relationships. And I hope you have relationships. I hope you have people that you interact with. And I'm hopeful that there will be a chance for you to think about those relationships. And we're going to talk a little about some of the categories of that. But wanted to let you know that interacting with others, there's lots of different ways to do that. Okay? There's lots of different beneficial ways to do that. And maybe if you've been in a workplace, they've got kind of rules and systems, and this is what you should do, and this is what you should say, and for us to get along, don't talk about this, don't say that, only certain things, behave this way. And I think those are very seen as beneficial and positive. And so I'm hopeful that if you've had that experience, that they have been beneficial and positive. That there's some who come up with different techniques on how to interact in a beneficial way, peaceful way, positive way. And I've become aware of a couple of those. I'm going to talk about two of them a little tonight. I've got lots of thoughts, and I hope it comes out in a clear and productive way that is somehow both impromptu but linear. And in that sense, there are things that are called conversations. And there's a series of books and authors, wonderful. I don't remember the details, not going to worry about that, but crucial conversations and critical conversations, and how to have these. And they were written by individuals who do some of the international negotiations. How do you work with someone who totally disagrees with you, has a different point of view, and is not open at all? And so I hope that's not your home life. I hope that's not something that you are, an international negotiator for hostages or anything like that. But there are people and there are skills that one can learn for that. And those are things that are necessary to talk about. If you listen to some of the ads, one of the hardest things to talk about in relationships is money. And there are lots of other topics that might be difficult, but how do you bring it up? If you have different ways, how do you talk about these things? without fighting. Okay, this is peaceful relationships. And so there's methods about that. And one that I bumped into a long time ago was called nonviolent communication. Has anybody heard of that kind of a technique or a process? There's a whole kind of subculture about that, lots of books, lots of things. And what is interesting about that to me is how it arrests our awareness of how we're doing things. And if you know much about the Brahma Kumaris and Raja Yoga meditation, we talk about our habits here. We're sanskars, the way we've made decisions and our personality that comes from that. What are the decisions that you've made? What are the decisions that have made you? And so when we look at those things and call them our habits, our personality, or sanskars, we're starting to recognize that we sometimes aren't conscious of what we say and what we do. It's just automatic. And then we've got these routines and we've got these patterns and we've got a way of just responding, reacting, actually might be a better word, to what's going on around us. And one of the things it does has us look at ourselves, has us become aware of feelings, and gives us a chance to honor those that we're engaged with, but still have the, if you want to put it this way, courage to ask for what we need. And just a short little introduction of that. We're going to play a video. I'm going to watch it over here. You're going to watch it on the screen. But it's going to be a real quick introduction to a volume of work that has been created. So if we can start that and move forward on the video short of nonviolent communication, it's going to be dense. There's going to be a lot. I'm going to tell you that you will not be an expert when you leave here tonight on anything that I say, but I hope there's a couple things that say, gosh, tell me more. And so I would like to tell you more, and I would like to say, let the lights go down, let the video come up, and let the inspirations flow. Working on it. Share the screen.
Nonviolent communication.
Louder.
The theory of nonviolent communication provides us with a number of techniques to help us stay in control of difficult situations. All too often, our emotions take over and cause us to lose our temper or get upset. Often, bizarrely enough, a conversation in which we don't show enough assertiveness turns into a downright slanging match because we don't have the necessary tools at hand to express our emotions correctly. We could distinguish between two forms of communication, the jackal and the giraffe. The giraffe is open, respectful, assertive, and not judgmental. The jackal interprets, accuses, judges, reproaches, and manipulates. If we want to create a rapport when communicating, we better leave the jackal in a cage and release our inner giraffe. Let's have a closer look at a technique to do exactly that. The method of nonviolent communication comprises 4 consecutive steps. The first one is observation. Stick to the facts. Do not interpret. Do not judge. All you do is observe and put in words what you're observing. For instance, I can see that what I noticed is that I have done, what I hear is that you, and so on and so forth. Step 2 is the emotion. Put in words how you feel about it. In fact, there are only 4 basic emotions: anger, sadness, fear, and joy. All others can be seen as derived from those 4. So use sentences such as, I feel hurt, or I'm deeply touched, or I'm very disappointed, or this irritates me, and so on. Step 3 is about the need. Express what you find important, what you need, which values you adhere to, what you would appreciate to see respected. Phrases such as, I've always found it important to, or I would like, or what counts for me is that I'm going to do that for you. Step 4 is your request. Point out unambiguously what you expect from the other person. What are your concrete desires or suggestions in this context? End the conversation with phrases such as, that's why I want to ask you to, or I insist on you doing, or I want you to immediately, and so on and so forth. Let's have a look at an example. A colleague has asked for a few days leave without discussing this with you beforehand. This messes up the planning which you have so meticulously drawn up. You want to discuss this with your colleague. So, step 1, stick to the facts. I've noticed that you've applied to our manager for leave without seeing me first. Step 2, express how you feel about it. That irritates me because it makes me lose the overview as far as planning goes. Step 3, tell him what you need. I need this overview to plan holidays correctly for everyone. And step 4, tell him what you want him to do. What I would like you to do is discuss these things with me first. Use this technique when you want to communicate less like a jackal and more like a giraffe.
So we're going to try to be giraffes in our lives, using those animals as reference points. And so as the screen goes up and the lights come up, very, very quickly through that process. But was thinking about that, and I observe sometimes in this hall that some of you are sitting under the balcony and it's dark back there, so it's harder for me to see. That's what I've observed. And when I can't see everybody, I feel a little sad or disappointed. And what I would like is to all of us create the feeling of a family or togetherness or support. And so my request is those who are under the balcony in the dark to come forward. You have to decide that. But actually, it's a firm request, but it was following the 4 steps that we just saw. Okay. And what I'm watching now is there wasn't any pressure. I wasn't making anybody feel bad. I wasn't manipulating, but there was a request. Does that make some sense? And I'm going to make another one. When I sit in this chair and I look at a screen and I see names, but not faces, I feel kind of, alone, and that makes me sad. And what I would like to do again is to bring everybody here so that we can share and create that feeling of togetherness. And so therefore, my request is that those on Zoom who come to Global Harmony House would share their sweetness and their happiness and their enthusiasm by turning on their camera. And so my request is to those on Zoom is, please join us and turn on your camera. And to those who do that, thank you. And those who might be driving or in the midst of something and can't, we understand. But when we come to Harmony House, usually there's an excitement and a joy, and sharing that face is a gift you can give to everybody. So those who've turned on and are thinking about where the camera button are, great that you could find it and turn that on and join all of us. It was just a little bit of what's there, but I want to go one more step, maybe 1 or 2 deeper into that process, because Did a little background. I had read some of these things and tried my best to remember them. But one of the aspects which is really, really hard for some is to know how you feel. When I see something, a lot of times there's a feeling that comes out of that. Okay. Somebody did this. Why did they do that? And these habits, these sanskars, these energies start to emerge. Okay. The one we use the most, and it happened today twice, is traffic. Okay. Coming out, somebody cuts in the, wait a minute, what's going on? That's just a classic, simple example. And when you're in the car and that happens, that's the time to, what automatically happened to me? How did I feel when that happened? I observe someone cutting in, I feel it's usually not joy. No, come on in. Sometimes it is. Yeah, I want to help. Come on in. I feel good. We're not really communicating, and there is no nonviolent communication through horn honk, as far as I'm aware. And so it's not really a relationship that we're developing on the road. But those are what happens when something happens. What happens to me? And how do I feel? And want to share some feelings in a category about that, if I can. Bring my glasses. But the basic feelings, and it's kind of nice because just like in this room, there's a line. We got benches and they kind of ended up and we got up. And so you're on one side or the other. Not that there's a right or wrong in here, but there's a line in how we feel. And part of that is the feelings when our needs are fulfilled. Okay. And I guess let me step back a little. Some of the needs that we have, I'll read that, just a few. We need autonomy. We need to be able to be free to make decisions. We need to be able to have integrity. We need to have self-worth, creativity. We need to have fun. We need for beauty and harmony. There's a lot of needs. There's basic needs also, food, air, water, shelter, things like that. But we need a lot of things, and we have a right to have that. I believe you have a right to beauty, that should be available, whatever that might mean and however that turns out. But when we recognize that we have needs, and there's a kind of a long conversation, which we're not going to get into, or desires. What's the difference? How does that happen? But we needs to me are way work better when these things are met. Okay, we work better when we're have food. Okay, is it a desire to have sustaining food? I don't think so. Is it a desire to have something beyond sustaining food? Yeah, I'm starting to get into that category. Does that make some sense? So is it a desire to have fresh air? Well, it's a need also, right? And so we have these needs, but the feelings that come up when we have interactions and relationships, very interesting. That line comes up. The feelings that come when our needs are fulfilled. Sorry about this. That we're amazed and that we're glad and that we're moved and we're joyous, we're inspired and we're eager, we're confident. There's quite a few. Do you get the feeling that when your needs are being met, when we have food and when you have this, when you have kind of a freedom to believe what you want, there's an energy that comes. Do you feel energized when someone says something to you? Or the opposite, feelings when needs are not fulfilled. I find this quite insightful. We're angry, we're annoyed, we're concerned, we're distressed, we're hopeless, we're irritated, sad, we're uncomfortable, and there were more. But just to give a little flavor of that, how do we feel during the day? We hold on to those thoughts. Do we hold on to the feelings that I see you did this? It makes me feel this way. And then do we stop? Or do we turn into that kind of a jackal behavior? You did this, I feel this way, therefore I'm going to get revenge. Therefore, I'm going to try to fix it by, not clearly saying how I feel or what I want, but try to get it in another way. Blame. Am I going to deny my truth, my feelings? There's lots of, repercussions in our interactions. Life is complicated, right? It's a lot going on, and I'm not asking you to overanalyze anything, but just kind of be aware. How am I feeling? What is that connected to? And what can I do so that I move into the category of my needs being fulfilled? And what isn't being fulfilled? Because I find that very powerful. If I can hold on to that or recognize that and identify that, that gives me a chance to fix it. Because a lot of times, if we don't say, this is what's going on inside of me, this is, something I want to change. How do I change it? When I don't take that responsibility or power, then I can start to blame, stuff, deny, all sorts of, ways of deflecting what's really going on. And I think that's a big part of the peaceful relationships, is the understanding of what's happening inside of me. How am I responding to what's going on around me? And what can I do to acknowledge that, accept that, and move through that? Because here also, Global Harmony House, we try to be aware of our thinking. What am I thinking? And the first lesson that we often address is, well, who's doing the thinking? Who am I? What's going on about that? And we're pretty comfortable with an awareness of our spiritual self and our self being spiritual being and kind of applying from that. But that understanding then is, if I want to have good relationships, if I want to have peaceful relationships, blame and anger and unfulfilled needs aren't helpful. What are my needs? How can I do that? And how can I not try to manipulate someone for them, but specifically have the courage to ask clearly so that someone can help? And you guys were great. You moved. Some of you turned on your cameras, not all of you. But it's that sense that it's not a manipulation. And when we start to have that awareness of the spiritual linkage or connection or understanding of each other, one of the techniques that we use here for relationships, peaceful, is to see others in that same way. That if I'm a spiritual being, if I'm a soul, if I have the nature of peace and love, then so are you. And let me see you in that light. Let me have an elevated perspective of who you are. And what that does for me is it takes me out of the unfulfilled need energy and moves me in a place that's above that. And I get a better perspective on what's going on inside of me, what's going on between me and other. And it gives me a chance then to find a path when I'm not stuck into it. I like these drone videos, okay, for meditation. I hope it's okay. Everybody all right? We had clouds and we had things. Sometimes we have water. Sometimes we have fish, whatever they are. I mean, it's kind of takes you out of your typical perspective. Oh, hello. And sometimes you can see things that you can't normally see when you're on the ground. And so when we elevate our consciousness and have that awareness that I'm interacting with another spiritual being, takes me right out of the energy and the emotion and the feeling of that. And then one of the practices is to see others with pure feelings. Here's another spiritual being who might be having unfulfilled needs, might not know what is happening, but what can I do so that I am feeling, in this case, peaceful, and I can make the relationship more peaceful? How can I see them? Because a lot of times we see individuals, and check this, maybe some of you do, some of you don't. We sometimes see people in how they say things or what they say or what they've done, and we hold that vision of them. Okay, you're going to see this a lot, and you've seen it a lot in the realm of political advertising and promotion. How many are you getting 10 things a day for the election coming up in your mailbox? Okay, it's amazing, huh? I'm getting all sorts. And the example is not to which one is better, right? But one candidate will take a picture or grabs one moment of another person's behavior, and that's who they are. Okay, they raised the taxes, or they didn't do this, or they did that, or something like this, back and forth. And so that's not necessarily who that person is, but it's an action that they've done. One of the ones you're going to see forever now is, I'm drifting off into current events a little, but it's kind of fascinating, that they just elected a speaker of Congress. Anybody following that? No. And it's someone who they don't know very well, but there was an interview at the press conference. Somebody asked a question and they booed him. Why are you asking a question? Boo. And then somebody else said, shut up. You're going to see an elderly woman of Congress saying shut up a lot in the future. It was one moment, she just said it. It's not who she is, but it's going to be, I guess they call it a meme these days. One moment, and all of a sudden, that's who you are. That's how it is. And that's very unfair. It can be very funny sometimes, but it's very unfair to say that this is who you are and get stuck with that. And if you accept that, you go down a downward spiral. This is who I am, And so the thinking that we've got, if we can elevate ourselves and see individuals not as what they've done, but as someone who is like us, someone who wants to be seen in their fulfilled state. Does that make some sense? When we talk about your needs are not fulfilled and there's sadness, and when your needs are fulfilled, there's an energy. So if you can start to have that thought that let me see someone in their elevated, fulfilled, best state, it's quite amazing, because what you are able to do is to elevate them from their experience. It's not a magic spell. It's not like, okay, now I'm going to see this and you are going to be happy. But it gives them an opportunity to resonate with perspective that you hold of them and to move into that. It allows them the ability and the action. This is vibrating. Sorry, I wanted to see the time. It allows you to see them and have them see themselves in that same way. So when you have pure feelings for someone, there is this energy, there is this vibration, there is this quality that comes out. And if you are able to hold on to a state of peace yourself, and you see others as a peaceful being who might have something going on with them, then that perspective is also going to allow them to reduce what it is that is taking them away from their natural state. I'm a being of peace, you're a being of peace. If I see you that way and I think about it that way and I move in that direction and I have those feelings for myself and for you, it's going to change the dynamic. And oftentimes our habits, our patterns are so quick that we don't do that. We know it, we think it sometimes, but we're not the embodiment of it. And that's why one of the things that's worked for me a lot, changing behaviors and such, is to practice that awareness. Who am I? What am I? What are my qualities? How do I see myself? How do I see others? And so with that, pure wishes and good feelings and pure wishes, I guess, are the phrase that want you to try to remember tonight. There's a lot that you're going to forget, that I will forget too. But that sense that, can I see myself with an elevated consciousness? Can I see myself with that awareness that I can see others, and in that manner that our communication, our relationship is going to be based on that elevated process. I don't think that's how they work it in international relations. I think there's a more structured process. But in this way of looking at things from a spiritual point of view, it kind of allows us to look at some of the different relationships that we have. Because I want to just highlight some of those for you. That right now, you are in a relationship, not with me. But I'm talking, I'm sharing things, I'm kind of splattering some stuff on you in your mind. And you're in a relationship with yourself. And asking how you feel about yourself is quite a fascinating journey. Because as I'm talking, you're probably talking too, aren't you? A little chatting going on. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Oh, is it going to end soon? I'm hungry. Whatever conversation you've got going on, you're in a relationship all the time with yourself. And so, how do you make that peaceful? How do you get engaged with that, if indeed you want to, and if you feel that's something beneficial? An example comes up for me. There was a activity, so to speak, that came forward. It wasn't there was a problem, and we had to do something that the town wanted us to do. And for some reason, it was an honest mistake. Nobody knew about it. And all of a sudden, you have to do these things in 30 days. You had to move a fence. All right. And so, well, it wasn't something I wanted to do. It wasn't something that felt was important or necessary, but it just turns out that that was the deal. And so I was watching my awareness and my thoughts during that process. What am I thinking while this is going on? Because there was the offer of upset and anger and blame and disgust and all sorts of those unfulfilled needs, feelings, right? Remember those? And I could feel those are being offered to me. Does that make any sense? When I say something is being offered to you, anger or hatred or fear, it doesn't mean that, you know, it's you. It's kind of coming up as, hey, this is what you've done before, and this is what lots of people do in this situation. So it's a feeling. But to change that so that my relationship with myself wasn't based on that, but it was based on, okay, we can fix this. This is an opportunity. It's a nice day. working with some nice people, and used the ability to recognize the choice of feelings. I can be feeling something else, but I can also choose to change that. Does that make any sense? Do you recognize that you can have a thought that let me change what's going on so that I'm not going to suffer or add the things that I don't like and spend my time there? I have a choice. I have that ability to choose. So I changed this. We did it, and it was actually very. Turns out, after everything's done, very, very rewarding, very productive. We did that. So that's check that box. One thing is finished that nobody's going to ask us about. There are more if anybody wants to know. That was the end of that one. And it worked out. And relationship with self is always there. But typically what you might have thought about when we talk about peace in relationships is with others. And I hope you always have others in your life. I hope you always have someone around, because it's a little tough to do everything all by yourself. There's something about us that scientists have said that we're like community. Human beings like to be with others, not all the time, not constantly. Everybody needs a break too. There's that sense that we're a community. And so in our interactions with others, how we see others, it's good to be able to have a perspective, kind of, we've elevated ourselves, but to listen to others and in a nonviolent, in a peaceful relationship. One of the skills that I find incredibly helpful is to be able to listen to what's being said and the feelings and the motivation behind that. What's actually being communicated? Because oftentimes it's not the immediate words that are there, but what unfulfilled need is the other person bringing into this. And maybe they don't know that they have an unfulfilled need. Maybe they are not aware of how to be able to access that and be able to request for that to be done. But if we're able to listen to not only what's being said, but what's being said underneath that, then maybe we can have a chance to change the relationship. And by listening, being observing, aware of what's going on, we have a better chance to make things smoother in that process. And when things work smoother, then there's kind of this energy that we're cooperating together, we're working together. Our minds are not necessarily thinking the same thing, but one of the greatest feelings that I can offer is that when a group of people comes together and creates something that none of them could do by themselves. If you've ever heard a really tight band or musicians, that it's transcendent. And if you've ever worked on a project or a show and a group of people come together and they have a vision and they put that together and they accomplish that, that type of a feeling, you can't get by yourself. But it is a sense of I've done this and such, and you can be proud of that. But when you do that in a community or a group or more than one, there is something that comes out of that that neither or none could do by themselves, and it is magical. But it takes a part of knowing the self, understanding the other, listening to what's going on, and seeing what can be offered in that process. And one more relationship that's we talk about a lot here is not only our relationship with the self. I'm a spiritual being, let me hold that thought. Or with others, I'm seeing others as spiritual beings. Let me kind of understand what's going on, where they're at, how much of their needs are being fulfilled. Why are they communicating, the things about this? What does that mean? Is there anything I can do? Not to overanalyze everybody, But to give that energy that makes them free. But there's another relationship that we talk a lot about here, and I hope you can anticipate this because we talk about it a lot. And we'll talk about it a little tonight. We'll leave some time for comments, your thoughts about these things, questions or whatever, before we conclude. Probably have some reflective meditation. But that's with God. Do you have an awareness? Do you have a conversation? Do you have a partnership? Because this is peace in relationships. And so that's a big question. Do I have a relationship? What's my relationship with myself? What's my relationship with others? And can I engage and create and sustain a relationship with God? And for us, God, soul, I'm a soul, supreme soul. We meditate, we connect with each other, we think about that. And so that's a power that's available. How do I use that power? How do I engage in that? What is my relationship? Do I do something every day? Do I do it every moment? Do I do it every once a year? There are souls that go to church once a year. There are individuals that go to church once a week, once a day. Some pray all the time. I mean, there's a whole continuum of all of us, in this relationship. But in that sense, if I can be peaceful, if I can be aware of myself, and if I can then have that awareness that there is another soul, another being, someone who has great power in my life. And if I can calm myself, meet my needs, and have this clarity of myself, then I make myself available. I make myself capable of experiencing in those qualities. And with that understanding, I kind of move from being alone, trying to do it on my own, to that awareness that I can take power that will help me. I have to develop that, create that relationship. And that's a big part of my experience of meditation, Raja Yoga. Who am I? How do I connect? What is the relationship I have? What is the relationship that I want? And what are the steps that I might follow for that? That is not something that's an hour's going to allow. And it is not something that a lifetime is probably going to be sufficient for. But it is something that I'm hoping will be a beginning, continuing effort for all of us. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What's available for me? And who might be there? And those are the questions that will take my mind, and if you do it, yours, away from a lot of the mundane stuff, of the feelings from unfulfilled needs, and allow us to move into a space and a realm that is going to be different. I hope it's peaceful. I hope it's loving. I hope it is a place where you want to spend more time. And I hope it is a situation and a process that will bring you back here on Thursday nights. So I'm going to pause there. I'm hoping that there was something that was said that will get you to think a little more and maybe to comment on something. And so I'm going to invite our MC, Sister Michelle, to come back with a microphone and see if there are any thoughts or comments or inspirations or anything. We're going to start here in person with those who have come forward, which is also nice. So Michelle doesn't have to walk all the way to the back and we can see you very clearly. So Michelle, you have a microphone. We probably have some volume for it. Is it on?
Yes.
All right.
Questions or comments for her? Okay. So,
Hi, Thank you so much for your presentation.
Sure.
And I have personally some issues, some problems, because the second and third part of the nonviolent communication
Yep.
become very difficult,
Okay.
emotional. I don't know if it's because my vocabulary is very limited, not just English, maybe Italian, or because I do not know how to distinguish emotion within myself.
Yep.
I mean, if now you feel I'm feeling good,
Okay.
now you feel I'm feeling bad, or
Yep.
maybe I'm feeling angry. So the range of emotion is so limited that then I do not know exactly what my needs are. So even the third part becomes,
Yeah.
I don't know really with clarity what the needs are.
Okay.
So I was wondering if maybe I should just do some exercise, just to find the way, because there is a kind of confusion that then brings me at the fourth part. I don't know really what I want.
Okay.
So I cannot really make
Yeah.
very clear request.
Okay. Excellent, because it is a process, and it does invite us to know ourselves and to have that ability to ask. And one of the consequences about not being able to do that is we don't know how we're feeling, we don't know what we want, we don't know how to get it, and we're going to be left with a lot of confusion. And so, not necessarily to follow that process, but to spend some time in quiet and have that question of how am I feeling? And then not just sit with that and wonder, but then to bring something in that will make you feel like your needs are fulfilled. Let me see myself as being at peace right now. Let me see myself being lovable. Let me bring a thought that brings me joy. And so part of that is almost like short circuiting. If I see this and it makes me feel this way, and then I need to do this, and then I have to ask this, let me just go straight to what I want. And I want to live my life in peace. So let me see a picture of peace. Let me think of that. Let me breathe that in. There's going to be lots of things. Let me read something. And so nurturing myself. And so having those good wishes and pure feelings and actions that are beneficial to myself might make that a little easier. Because for me, the nonviolent communication is a process, and you hit it exactly right. I have to know this, I have to do this, I have to, and there's a difference between what they said. There were four emotions, only four basic ones, right?
Yeah.
Mad, sad, glad, and happy. Here, what they were. Was anger one of them? Mad, anger. Okay. Okay. So there you go. I don't even know them basic four. I'm not even sure I know the three main colors, but once you combine them all, there's a plethora of them. There's, a wheel of colors, and there's a wheel of emotions. And so to know the subtleties, some people are very good at that. Some people are excellent at knowing exactly what it is. But it's not necessary. And I don't want to have anybody walk away from here thinking, oh, this is too hard, I can't do it. What we can do is become aware. And if we're aware that we're in a state that is not what I want, fulfilling, then let me try to do something. Let me talk to someone, let me quiet myself, let me read something, let me discuss it, and move forward. Because I think the fourth step, taking some sort of action in our own life, is really important. And not just, I don't know, it's too hard, and I'm just going to sit here in the dumps. Then you're going to try something else that's not going to address the problem. You're going to stuff it, you're going to hide it, you're going to deny it, and that's not a good space. Does that help at all? Yeah, thank you. Anybody else comments, thoughts about this?
Yeah, it was a great talk to hear. And it reminded me to be aware that I'm always transmitting something. You know, we have these moments of where we're not so mindful and we're in maybe a state of agitation or reaction or whatever. And we say something to someone and we may think it's innocuous, but something is simultaneously getting transmitted. And I've had this experience with a work colleague where they were kind of like, well, that's not, I know what you said, but that's not what I felt. And it really, you know, it wakes you up. It's an important thing to remember. So
Yeah. Our words and how we say them.
Shanti, Eric, thank you so much for,
Got some Zoomers. Hello.
hello, thank you so much for sharing about nonviolent communication. It's like you gave me a check, Insider, because I had a friend from New York that she used to call me every week on the phone to discuss things. And she told me about nonviolent communication and she invited me to join it. But I did not. And I do have a wheel of feelings. And it's funny because I do tend to push things down. And, this really helps to hear you put it together in a way that I sort of didn't think when my friend said it there that I should really honestly pay attention to it. But no, it's a kind of a skill to be able to tap into these feelings, but then communicate honestly from the heart without blaming or judging, but just accepting what is. And I remember the first time she told me about this, and then she said something to me about what she needed. I misinterpreted it. And I thought she was attacking me. And she goes, no, 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 I'm not doing that. I'm telling you what I need in this situation. So thank you so very much for clarifying and bringing this up. But this is really very, very powerful.
And thank you for coming on camera.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that there is a bubbling of enthusiasm to check out and evaluate our own relationships with self, with others, with God, and that the next couple minutes we might be able to just focus a little on that before we depart. Is that okay? Are we doing all right with time? So I'm just going to share a couple thoughts, and then if you will call it reflection or meditation or just a summary. Let's start with a deep breath. And those on Zoom and those in Global Harmony House recognize that we are all thinking about how to communicate nonviolently and peacefully. And that there's this kind of a connectedness that's happening right now. And that we can rise above and see ourselves and others. And from a spiritual perspective, that we are all unique individuals, have this quality and feeling and need for love, peace, happiness. First, see that in yourself. These are things that are my needs. And with my thoughts, I can make those feelings grow. So pick one of those qualities and focus in on it. Let it grow. I am peace. I feel all those with me being peaceful. I use my thoughts to have that feeling for myself. And now let me extend that out. As I am now thinking of peace in this room, peace in the connection with others outside of the room. Let me see if I can have enough power to envision the globe and the world, give peace to everybody. See them as souls who are striving to reclaim their fulfilled stage. And let me switch my perspective and recognize that there's another soul who has that same awareness. It is constantly giving quality of peace, love. From another realm, but it is for everybody. That supreme soul, that being we call God, we're actually in a relationship. It's a peaceful relationship. It's a relationship that truly fills my needs. Let me practice holding on to that awareness of I, the soul, have my needs met. I can share those qualities with others and to myself. May you always practice that. May you always remember that. And may you always be that. Shanti. There might be an announcement or a message or a howdy do.
Just to thank you very much for an enlightening evening and teaching me, I know, a little bit more about understanding who I am, and therefore perhaps developing mutual understanding with others. So it starts with me, and once I understand myself, perhaps that's what I got out of
Great.
today, that I'll be able to understand others. So hope you feel the same way. Thank you
Okay.
so much. So we're gonna
Thank you
have.
very
some-
much.
Yes.
Yeah. Voice from the ether.
From above.
Above, yes. Is that you, guy?
Herman.
Herman. Oh, my
Herman.
mistake. See how it goes. Okay. Thank you all for coming. See you next
See
Thursday.
you next Thursday with the new month
and
of
new month.
conversations. Counting
Count your
blessings,
blessings.
getting ready for Thanksgiving, Sister Tina.
Very good.
We have a lot
Okay.
to be grateful for. So we will have blessings and totally for you, and hopefully we'll see you next week. And if anyone would like to sign up, leave your email so we can get your information and we can send you other updates of classes and things that we have. Please let me know. And Om Shanti, we'll see you next week. And thank you all for
Shanti.
being here. And thank you, Zoom family.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, brother.
Om Shanti. Good night.
Om Shanti. Good night.